Welcome back to Greatest Screenplays. Today, John and I are diving deep into what many consider the pinnacle of screenwriting, Citizen Kane.
That's right, Emma. It's a film that's consistently lauded, dissected, and held up as a gold standard. But why? What makes this screenplay so special, especially for us as screenwriters?
I think it starts with the audacity of the approach, doesn't it? I mean, the whole structure. It's not just a straightforward biography. It's a puzzle, a mystery even.
Absolutely. That nonlinear narrative, jumping between different perspectives and time periods. It was revolutionary. It's not just a gimmick, though. It's integral to how the story unfolds.
It forces you to piece together Kane's life like a detective, similar to Thompson in the screenplay. Each interview, each flashback gives you a fragment, a different facet of this incredibly complex character.
And those flashbacks aren't just randomly placed. They build on each other, revealing layers of Kane's personality and motivations. The breakfast montage with Emily, for example, is a masterclass in showing, not telling.
Oh, that montage is genius. In 2 minutes? You see the entire arc of their marriage, the gradual erosion of love and connection, all through subtle changes in their dialogue, their body language, even their seating arrangement.
Exactly. It's visual storytelling at its finest. No lengthy exposition, just carefully chosen details that convey a wealth of information. That's something any screenwriter can learn from.
And the dialogue itself, it's so sharp and witty, but also deeply revealing. Every character has a distinct voice. You can practically hear Bernstein's wry pragmatism or Leland's cynical idealism.
They're not just spouting plot points, are they? Their words reveal their biases, their relationships with Kane, their own inner lives. It makes them feel like real, complex individuals, even the relatively minor characters, like Susan's singing teacher.
The desperation in his voice when he declares it is impossible, impossible. That short scene, the one where Kane says that Matiste will listen to reason, showcases Kane's power.
Right, or Susan. Her initial naivete, her vulnerability, and then her growing resentment and bitterness. It's all there in her dialogue, in her interactions with Kane.
And the subtext. So much is left unsaid or implied, which makes the dialogue even more powerful. Think about that scene where Leland confronts Kane about his political attacks.
Oh, yeah. You're talking an incredible amount of nonsense, Susan. The way he says it, the quietness of it, after all the bluster, it's loaded with meaning.
It's more than just a disagreement. It's a fundamental clash of values, a betrayal of their friendship. And it's all conveyed through this seemingly simple exchange.
That scene is great because you have Kane who thinks everything he does is out of love. He just wants to be loved in return by everyone. But in the same scene, you learn that people think he's a murderer.
And the characters themselves. Kane is such a fascinating paradox, isn't he? He's both charismatic and repulsive, idealistic and ruthless.
Completely. He's not a cardboard cutout hero or villain. He's a deeply flawed, deeply human character, and that's what makes him so compelling, even if you don't necessarily like him.
He has this clear external want, power, influence, success, but there's this deeper, almost unacknowledged need for genuine connection, for the innocence he lost as a child.
And that's where Rosebud comes in, right? It's not just a plot device. It's a symbol of that lost innocence, that yearning for something he can't quite grasp.
Exactly. It's the thing that motivates him, even if he doesn't fully understand it himself. And the screenplay doesn't give you all the answers, which is brilliant.
It's not like they spell out, Rosebud means this, and therefore Kane did that. It leaves it open to interpretation, to the audience's own understanding of human nature.
And the supporting characters aren't just there to prop up Kane. They each have their own arcs, their own perspectives. Leland's disillusionment, Bernstein's unwavering loyalty.
Susan's tragic trajectory. They all feel like fully realized individuals, and they all contribute to the overall picture of Kane.
Speaking of Susan, her perspective is key, isn't it? We see Kane through her eyes, and it's not always a flattering portrait. The scene where she's doing the jigsaw puzzles.
Oh, the endless jigsaw puzzles. That's such a powerful visual metaphor for their isolation, for the emptiness of their life in Xanadu, despite all the material wealth.
It also symbolizes the fact that she is just another piece in Kane's collection, another item he acquired to complete his collection.
And the way the screenplay uses setting, Xanadu isn't just a backdrop, it's almost a character in itself. It represents Kane's ambition, his ego, his ultimate isolation.
It's this massive, opulent, but ultimately empty space. It's like he's trying to build his own world, to control everything, but he ends up alone in this gilded cage.
Even the seemingly minor details, like the snow globe, they're not random. They're carefully chosen symbols that add layers of meaning to the story. It's there in the beginning and the end.
It is. The writing is so economical. The newsreel at the beginning is brilliant, giving us that broad overview of Kane's public life and quickly setting up the central question.
It's exposition, but it's done in such a dynamic and engaging way. It grabs your attention immediately. It's like, here's the outline, now let's dig into the real story.
And the ending, it's not a neat tied up resolution, is it? It's ambiguous, thought-provoking, and ultimately very sad.
We see the sled, we understand the object that Rosebud refers to, but we're still left with the larger question of what it all means. It's about the elusiveness of happiness, the corrupting influence of power,
And the enduring power of childhood loss. It's not a happy ending, but it's a profoundly human one.
It stays with you long after the credits roll. You're left to ponder the complexities of Kane's life, the choices he made, and the things he lost along the way.
It's a reminder that even the most powerful and successful individuals can be deeply flawed and ultimately unfulfilled. A pretty powerful message from a screenplay almost a century old.
Absolutely. Citizen Kane isn't just a great film, it's a masterclass in storytelling, in character development, in using every element of the screenplay to create a powerful and lasting impact. A must-read screenplay, don't you think?
Definitely. And a tough act to follow. Thanks for joining me, John, to unpack the enigma that is Kane.
My pleasure, Emma. Until next time on Greatest Screenplays.